जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल।
भारत की मुट्ठी में चांद। जी हाँ, चांद पर भारत का सूर्योदय हो गया है। चांद पर चंद्रयान 3 की सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग से भारत ने एक नया इतिहास रच दिया है। भारत दुनिया का अब पहला ऐसा देश बना है जिसने चांद के साउथ पोलर रीजन में अपना झंडा गाड़ दिया है। दुनिया में जो कोई नहीं कर पाया वो भारत ने कर दिखाया। इस कामयाबी के बाद पूरा हिंदुस्तान गर्व के 7वें आसमान पर है। साउथ पोलर रीजन में अभी तक कोई देश नहीं पहुंच पाया। इस उपलब्धि पर जहां पूरे देश में जश्न का माहौल है, तो वहीं दुनिया की बड़ी बड़ी स्पेस एजेंसियां भी ऐतिहासिक सफलता के लिए भारत को बधाई दे रही है। नासा, यूके स्पेस एजेंसी, यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी समेत कई अंतरिक्ष एजेंसियों ने ट्वीट कर इसरो की सराहना करते हुए बधाई दी। यूके स्पेस एजेंसी ने ट्वीट कर लिखा, भारत के चंद्रयान 3 ने इतिहास रच दिया है, इसरो को बधाई। तो वहीं नासा के प्रशासक बिल नेल्सन ने भी ट्वीट किया, चंद्रयान 3 की चांद के दक्षिणी ध्रुव में सफल लैंडिंग के लिए इसरो और भारत को बधाई। भारत चंद्रमा पर अंतरिक्ष यान की सफलतापूर्वक सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करने वाला चौथा देश बन गया है। हमें इस मिशन में आपका भागीदार बनकर खुशी हो रही है। यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी के महानिदेशक जोसेफ एच बेकर ने भी इसरो को बधाई दी है। उन्होंने ट्वीट किया, अविश्वसनीय, चंद्रयान 3 की सफलता के लिए इसरो और भारत के सभी लोगों को बधाई। उन्होंने आगे लिखा, भारत की सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग हासिल करने का यह शानदार तरीका है। मैं पूरी तरह से प्रभावित हूँ। इस प्रक्रिया में बहुमूल्य समर्थन के लिए ईएसए ऑपरेशंस को भी बधाई। हम काफी कुछ सीख रहे हैं। एक मजबूत अंतर्राष्ट्रीय साझेदार एक शक्तिशाली साझेदार होता है।
It happened just 3 days after a similar mission from Russia failed.
It's a blow to the Kremlin because they are trying to show through this mission that Russia is again a superpower.
The lunar South Pole is significant because the expected presence of ice could support future human settlements. Here's why Moscow and New Delhi were in a race to get there, and how their missions were not just about science, but also about politics. India's Chandrayaan 3, which means moon vehicle in Sanskrit, blasted off from Earth on July 14th.
Liftoff normal.
Since then, the spacecraft made several maneuvers around the Earth and has been orbiting the moon to prepare for a landing. Russia launched its Lunar 25 less than a month later. It took a much faster and more direct route to the moon and was projected to reach the surface first on August 21st. The South Pole is strategic because the expected presence of ice could provide fuel, oxygen and drinking water, making it a potential site for mining and human settlement. But experts say a smooth landing is extremely challenging. That's because the area has much tougher terrain compared to other parts of the moon. It is bumpy, littered with craters and has limited sunlight.
The lander module has begun its descent.
India tried but failed to reach there 4 years ago and finally succeeded on August 23rd.
This success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future.
That makes India the 4th country in the world to reach the moon after the United States, Russia and China. India is expected to get a lot of offers from other space agencies, foreign countries, to launch like commercial satellites for them, which is going to be also a revenue earner for India.
A happy landing for Russia's unmanned Lunar 17 spacecraft.
Russia was the first country to send a rover to the moon back in 1970, towards the end of a space race between the US and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. But Russia hasn't launched another lunar lander since the 1970s, and the stakes this time around were especially high, more than 18 months after it launched the invasion of Ukraine.
Connectors.
Western sanctions imposed on Russia since the war complicated its collaborations in space with Europe and the US.
Because of Western sanctions, a lot of the cooperation that used to take part in terms of space projects, they have come to an end. And also because of technology export bans, Russia cannot receive a lot of the electronics and other technology that it would have in the past from European nations that supported its space program. So this is extremely significant.
For India, there are political and financial reasons driving its mission to the lunar South Pole. The successful mission could boost Prime Minister Narendra Modi's election campaign early next year.
These kind of missions adds to the national pride. Prime Minister Modi is going to tell his voters how the country has reached the moon, which would make to his benefit.
The Indian Space Agency works on a shoestring budget. In February, the government slashed funding for the Department of Space by 8% to $1.5 billion. In comparison, NASA's budget for 2023 is more than $25 billion.
India is hoping to get a lot of foreign collaborations in terms of offers for joint venture missions to launch commercial satellites. So it relies on these foreign collaborations to support its space missions.
India's successful landing on the lunar South Pole could change its standing in the global space race, especially in Asia.
India's position as a global space power would definitely be reinforced. Definitely puts India ahead of countries like Japan and Korea and just behind China.
Meanwhile, Russia still has a way to go to catch up with the US and China.
It's not the be-all and end-all for Russia. There are other lunars, Lunar 26 and Lunar 27. They both depend on electronics from the West. And for as long as sanctions continue, it's going to be difficult for Russia to obtain the kind of technology that it needs to continue collaborating and to ensuring that it is number one, as it wants to be, in the space race.
We begin with some historic news. India has become the first country in the world to successfully land a craft near the moon's south pole. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was watching the mission from South Africa and congratulated the team back home. Let's take a closer look at why there's been a rise in interest in the moon's southern pole. Well, the area is said to be home to frozen water, which could be a source of drinking water, fuel and oxygen for future moon explorations. But attempts to land on the surface of the moon had proven challenging. That was until now.
It's not just India's alone. This is a year in which the world is witnessing India's G20 presidency. Our approach of one Earth, one family, one future is resonating across the globe. This human-centric approach that we present and that we represent has been welcomed universally. Our moon mission is also based on the same human-centric approach. Therefore, this success belongs to all of humanity.
In 2019, India's Chandrayaan-2 spacecraft attempted to touch down but failed. Rough terrain was cited as one of the reasons. And just a few days ago, Russia's first mission to the moon in nearly 50 years ended with disappointment after its Lunar 25 spacecraft crashed on landing. Well, for more on this, we're going to bring in Anil Kumar Bhatt, who is Director General of the Indian Space Association. It's an industry association for Indian space and satellite manufacturing companies. He joins us now from New Delhi. Thank you very much for being on Al-Jazeera once again. First of all, can you explain to us the mood around the country there when it was confirmed that the lander had indeed touched down successfully?
You know, it's a historic and special moment for our space, not only for space, but for everyone in India. There were more than 1 billion hearts which were beating louder and faster, waiting for this very critical last 20 minutes of the lander coming down. And we are so proud of our scientists that they have been able to achieve it and do it well this time and land it softly on the moon. There's jubilation all around. I'm here in a college a little away from Delhi, and my God, the excitement, the happiness I've seen with students, as if we won a World Cup match or something.
Yeah,
so everybody's so excited.
The pictures from the mission control were remarkable when it was confirmed that it had indeed touched down. I guess, how significant is this going to be for the Indian space industry as well as the wider economy?
Yeah, you see, the Indian space industry, which is in a very nascent stage now, will be built up on the heritage it takes from ISRO. And whatever ISRO achieves will get passed down to our space industry players. It is already happening. They are doing transfer of technology, of satellites. Rockets are now being made with private players like the PSLV and many more things. Even our startups who have attempted a launch, support has all been from ISRO. So ISRO's scientific success is a step forward for the industry also. And as all of us say, in the future, there will be a lunar economy led by space stations and colonies on the moon. And who knows, in the future, mining, or if not mining, moon becomes the base for going beyond into the universe.
Yeah.
And for all that, all spacefaring nations are going to go together. And ISRO's achievement here is a very positive step for the Indian space industry.
I guess I want to know how ambitious India is when it does come to space exploration. Does it want to compete with the likes of Russia and China and America and, as you say, push the boundaries and go beyond to Mars?
Oh yes. The thing is, the most important part of ISRO has been, and like the current chairman says, one step at a time. And the present two steps which they're looking at is human mission, which is the Chandrayaan mission very immediately, maybe next month, where there'll be a AajTak mission to monitor the sun. But all steps are being taken one by one. As I know today, for some other planet, there is no mission which has been laid down. But in the future, and with the success which has been achieved, that will really happen. And of course, Indian space journey has been with allies, with friends, with partners, from France to Japan to USA to USSR and now Russia and many other, Australia now, many countries, even UK. We've been all cooperating in this space journey. So that is why this landing on the southern part of the moon, which we've been successful, is good for the entire scientific community of the whole world.
Yeah, certainly is a very exciting time when it comes to space exploration. Thank you so much. That is Anil Kumar Bhatt, Director General of the Indian Space Association. Thanks very much for being on Al Jazeera.
Thank you. Thank you. Honour being there.
So let's look at what is happening. The Indian Space Agency attempting to become the first to land a spacecraft near the South Pole of the moon. This is India's third lunar mission, and its Vikram lander is due to touch down in about 3 minutes' time. We will have, we hope, live pictures of that. You can see some of mission control in India there. Inside the six-wheeled rover, which, if all goes to plan, will roam the lunar surface, getting images and data. I love the idea. Scientists believe craters that are permanently in the shadow of the dark side of the moon may hold frozen water. Let's speak with Dr. Timothy Davis, space expert and reader in astrophysics at Cardiff University. Timothy, good afternoon to you, sir.
Ian.
Nice to have you with us. Straight question, why are they there? Not to just look for some water, surely?
Well, water is a very valuable compound on the moon. So if we ever want to build a base there, for instance, we're going to need drinking water. It costs about $1 million to ship a litre of drinking water to the moon. So if we could find supplies there, that would be great. But that's not really why they're going. They're going for the scientific reasons, both to understand where water comes from in our solar system, to test the tenuous atmosphere of the moon, and to explore this southern region that's completely unexplored. And of course, for all the geopolitical reasons, that India has for wanting to be a space power. They're now about 50 meters from the moon's surface there with their lander. So it's all going well so far.
It's bang on target, ready to land. And as you rightly say, there's global house points in the space race, of course. No one's walked on the moon, have they, since man last walked on the moon?
Yes, indeed. So in the 70s, after the space race, people quickly lost interest. The Cold War moved elsewhere, and we sort of left the moon for a while. But there's a new space race really starting to hot up now. Russia attempted to land there a couple of days ago and completely failed. Oh, it looks like the landing has been successful there. I think you can see.
Yes, I think we can see the images there, that we're getting, I think, possibly a slight delay in some respects, but there is a jubilation, it seems, in their central control, mission control. There's the Prime Minister waving the Indian flag. Everybody seems happy. Mr. Modi is certainly, that's the happiest I've seen him look in many years. And it seems it's happened, and that was all rather quick, but bang on target, Timothy, by all accounts.
Yes, it looks like things have gone very, very successfully. So a couple of years ago, the previous mission here had a problem with the lander that stopped it landing. This time, no such concerns. It looks like everything's gone very well indeed.
In terms of long-term plans as to what happens, I mean, is it about habitation on the moon, a human habitation on the moon? Is that a plan? Could that happen?
That's certainly part of what they're exploring here. So obviously there's many scientific reasons to go to the moon anyway, but beyond that, the space exploration regions are quite vast. So obviously drinking water for astronauts and people based on the moon is one option and that they're exploring here. But also, if you want to explore the solar system, the moon is a much better place to base your rockets than Earth. You don't have to climb out of Earth's gravity in order to get a rocket from the moon deeper into space. So if you could use the water there to manufacture hydrogen and oxygen to fuel your rockets, then that's a big space exploration reason to explore this area of the moon that's supposed to have a lot more water hidden in those dark craters.
Yeah, we're trying to get the pictures as well, Timothy, of the actual landing. It seems to have eluded and nothing to do with us at this end, by the way, but the actual moment that it touches down, as it were. And those pictures don't, at the moment, seem forthcoming. I'm sure they will eventually. At the weekend, of course, Russia gave something similar a go, but not with the same spectacular results, Tim.
Indeed, yeah, they had an unfortunate problem with the lander, and that crashed into the surface. So space exploration is hard, and it's not something that the Russians have done, as you said, since the 70s. And so this was their first attempt, actually, and it went wrong. And that is what happens in space exploration, and I'm sure they'll try again. But yeah, it just goes to show that this isn't easy, what India has done here.
Yeah. Where do the UK dovetail into this entire, the bigger picture here? Obviously, America, our closest allies. We have a lot of scientists and big brains in this country that work within our own space program and elsewhere, etc. What is our input into this wider area?
Yeah, so I think we obviously have a huge scientific input, both by collaborating with NASA and also the European Space Agency. We have a lot of experts that help with that. And we also have a lot of space industry here in the UK, both things like Airbus and Astrium, manufacturing satellites and boosters, and BAE, for instance. So a lot of space industry as well as the scientific input. And you've seen, I suspect, Virgin Space ran into some issues, but there are many other rocket companies, startups based in the UK. So we have a vibrant space industry. We're not quite landing our own people on the moon quite yet, but we're involved in all those missions, and we'll be taking part in all the scientific validation of those as well.
Indeed. A few years ago, Ben Elton wrote a book called Stark. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Timothy, but essentially about how a load of rich people got fed up with planet Earth, essentially, and just moved to another planet. I wonder whether are we heading? How soon could we be in that place? I can see Elon Musk building a very nice place over there.
I can see him attempting it. I think the truth is that we don't know of a planet B that would really support us. Both the moon and Mars are basically dead worlds. We would have to take everything we needed to survive there. If we can find water there, that obviously helps, but there's so much more we need rather than just water. So yes, we could sustain bases there, but they would need to be in constant contact with the Earth, receiving supply ships, etc. So I think a self-sustaining colony in our solar system is a long, long way away, but certainly something that may come and would have great scientific rewards.
And is the idea the moon sort of becomes a kind of hub, if you like, to further exploration? Is that crudely put the point?
Yes, exactly right. So that's certainly one of the goals, is you make the moon your gateway to the universe. Yeah. So you base your rockets there, you refuel them with the material that you might manufacture from this ice that they find, and then send them deeper into the solar system.
There it is. Tim, thank you for your time, sir. Dr. Timothy Davis, space expert. He's from Cardiff University, reader of astrophysics over there. Thank you to him. There it is. It's a big moment for India in terms of their position in this world, but the Indian moon landing has happened. Nobody's on board this craft, by the way, in case you were wondering. Images seem to be eluding the entire global media of the actual landing at the moment. I'm pretty sure the Indian Space Agency at some point will be very, very keen to get that out there as quick as they can. Prime Minister Modi, very happy. He seems to be addressing the nation, and you saw their mission control. There was big applause and a huge scene of the staff that worked there breaking out into huge applause as it happened. So everything was bang on target. It's been up there a while, this thing. Floating around doing its thing. It's finally landed on the moon, where it will carry out a series of experiments and have a little mooch around, checking for water on the south pole of the moon. So in global astronomical terms, there is a huge significance to this, but as our last guest just said, don't expect any time soon that we'll be watching people build houses over there. And you can see this is the takeoff. This happened in July, I think this first happened. The takeoff was spectacular. Again, it all went to plan. They're always rather awesome sights, seeing any kind of spacecraft go up like that. Everybody has their fingers crossed for a moment, but that was over a month ago when that took off from Indian soil, made its way into space, has been circling around, doing its various manoeuvres as it's there, and finally, the central part of that craft, once those rocket launchers had removed themselves, as you saw, was to land on the moon. And literally 10 minutes ago, just shy of 10 minutes ago, it did precisely that. Job done as far as the Indians are concerned. We will see a lot of imagery, I'm sure, over the coming days as to what it entails and what is gleaned from their various missions and experimentations as they mooch around the surface of the moon. Congratulations to them.